The soft hum of rain against the cafe windows created a rhythm that calmed Emma's nerves, though her heart thudded unevenly in her chest. She checked her reflection in the spoon for the 5th time, smoothing a strand of hair behind her ear. Blind dates weren't her thing. She had sworn off them months ago after too many awkward, empty conversations with men who talked more about themselves than they listened. But her best friend, Clara, had insisted this one was different. "Just 1 cup of coffee," she had said. "He's kind, humble, and you deserve to smile again." The bell above the door jingled. Emma looked up, and saw him. He wasn't what she expected. No flashy watch, no designer clothes, no arrogance in his walk. He wore a simple gray shirt and jeans, slightly damp from the rain. His shoes were scuffed, and his hair looked like it had fought the wind all the way there. Yet, when he smiled, shy, apologetic, genuine, something in her chest softened. "Emma?" he asked, his voice warm but cautious, as though he didn't want to startle her. She nodded, rising halfway before sitting again. "You must be Daniel. Sorry I'm late," he said, brushing water from his sleeve. "Bus broke down 2 stops away. I ran here." Bus. The word made her blink. Most men she'd met bragged about cars, watches, or careers. But Daniel spoke like it didn't matter, like being real was enough. As they ordered coffee, he asked about her work, her favorite books, and how she found calm in a busy city. He listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak, but really listening. His eyes followed her words as if they mattered more than the rain, the people, or time itself. She laughed more than she expected. When she made a joke about her burnt cooking, he didn't mock her, he offered a recipe. When the bill came, she reached for her purse, but he smiled gently. "Next time," he said. "It's on me." Emma left the cafe hours later, her umbrella forgotten at the door. The rain still fell softly, but something inside her felt warm, light. She didn't know who Daniel really was, only that, for the first time in a long time, she wanted to see someone again. The days that followed blurred into something soft and golden. What began as one blind date turned into a series of unplanned meetings, a coincidence here, a coffee there, until seeing Daniel became part of Emma's routine. He never took her to expensive restaurants or crowded theaters. Instead, he chose quiet corners of the city, the old park bench beneath a willow tree, a tiny bookstore that smelled of dust and paper, and a street vendor who made the best caramel waffles Emma had ever tasted. Daniel had a way of making ordinary places feel magical. He listened when she spoke, remembered the smallest details, and asked questions that made her pause and think. He never tried to impress her, and maybe that was why he did. Once, she found him sketching on a napkin at the cafe they'd first met. It wasn't art, it was a building design, detailed and precise. "You're good at this," she said, leaning closer. He smiled, quickly folding the napkin. "Just a hobby," he replied, but there was something in his tone, something practiced, careful. He always paid attention to her dreams. When she confessed her wish to open a small art gallery someday, he didn't laugh. Instead, he asked about her favorite artists, her vision for the space, even how she'd decorate the walls. No one had ever cared enough to ask before. Still, there were moments that didn't fit. Sometimes, he'd disappear for a few days, texting her only late at night. "Work's been crazy," he'd say. Once, she saw him in a sleek black car, the kind that turned heads. He stepped out in a crisp white shirt, phone in hand, speaking with authority. But when he noticed her watching, he smiled like nothing had happened and said the car belonged to a friend he was helping. She wanted to believe him, and did. Despite the mystery, Emma found herself falling for him. He wasn't rich, she thought, but he made her feel like she mattered, and that was worth more than anything. On their 4th date, as they walked along the riverside, Daniel stopped suddenly and looked at her with a mix of longing and fear. "Emma," he said quietly, "if one day you find out I'm not who you think I am, would you hate me?" She laughed softly, thinking it was a joke. "Depends," she teased. "Are you secretly a criminal?" Daniel smiled, but his eyes told a story she couldn't yet read. The night air carried a chill as Emma stood before her mirror, fastening the last clasp on her simple navy dress. Daniel had invited her to a small dinner with a few colleagues, saying it would be a quiet evening, nothing fancy. Yet, her hands trembled as she brushed a touch of lipstick on. Something about his tone when he'd called earlier felt different. Nervous, maybe, hesitant. When the car arrived, her breath caught. It wasn't a taxi or a rideshare, it was a sleek black sedan with tinted windows and a driver in uniform. "For Miss Emma," the man said politely, opening the door. She hesitated, half expecting Daniel to appear and laugh, saying it was all a mix-up. But the driver only smiled. "Mr. Daniels asked me to bring you directly." Her heart raced. Mr. Daniels. The city lights shimmered past as the car wound through elegant streets she rarely visited. When they stopped before the Grand Imperial Hotel, the city's most luxurious venue, Emma's throat went dry. The marble pillars gleamed, and valets hurried about, opening doors for people in gowns and tuxedos. There must be a mistake, she thought, clutching her purse. Inside, the chandeliers glowed like constellations. Guests mingled in polished suits, champagne glasses in hand. Then she heard it, a voice over the soft hum of conversation. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our CEO, Mr. Daniel Storm." Her world froze. The crowd turned, and there he was, the man she'd thought took buses and sketched on napkins. He walked onto the stage in a tailored suit that fit him like second skin, every inch of him radiating authority and confidence. Cameras flashed. People applauded. But all Emma could see was the quiet man who once shared waffles with her under a willow tree. When he spotted her at the edge of the hall, his confident mask faltered. His eyes softened. Regret, fear, love, all flickered across his face. He excused himself and crossed the room swiftly. "You lied to me," she whispered when he reached her. "I didn't mean to," he said softly. "I needed to know if someone could love me for me, not the name, not the money." The hall seemed to vanish. It was just the two of them now, the poor man she met, and the millionaire she never knew. For a long moment, Emma couldn't speak. The music, the chatter, the lights, all faded into a blur around her. She stood in the grand ballroom, surrounded by wealth and power, feeling small and betrayed. Daniel's hand reached for hers, but she pulled away, her voice trembling. "You made me believe you were just, ordinary. You made me feel guilty for offering to pay for coffee," she said, her throat tightening. "Was I just some kind of test to you?" "No," Daniel said quickly, his voice breaking. "You were the only real thing in my life. I've spent years surrounded by people who see my money before they see me. I didn't want that again. I wanted someone who'd love me for who I am, not what I own." Emma turned away, blinking back tears. "And what about trust, Daniel? Did you think lying would build it?" He stepped closer, his voice low but filled with pain. "I didn't lie about us. Everything I said, everything I felt, that was real. I just hid a part of me I was afraid would ruin everything." She looked up at him then, really looked. Beneath the expensive suit, beneath the title and the crowd that worshipped him, was the same man who'd run through the rain to meet her. The same man who'd listened when no one else did. Her heart warred with her pride. Part of her wanted to leave, to walk out of that glittering world and never look back. But another part remembered his laughter, his kindness, the way he'd memorized her dreams. "I don't care about your money, Daniel," she whispered finally. "I cared about you, the man who drank cheap coffee and called my art beautiful." He took her hands gently, eyes glistening. "Then that's who I'll be. For you, I'll always just be Daniel." For a moment, the world stilled. Then, slowly, she smiled, a small, tearful smile that held forgiveness. "Next time," she said softly, echoing their first date, "the coffee's on me." He laughed, a sound filled with relief and love, and pulled her into an embrace. Around them, the music swelled again, and for the first time in years, both of them felt something money could never buy: home.